The alarm on my wrist buzzed the moment the throne room doors sealed shut behind me, and I knew I was not walking out of there the same man who walked in. My name is Daniel Ashworth, and 3 days earlier, I had been nothing more than a maintenance technician on a research platform orbiting a dying star, fixing coolant lines and eating flavorless ration bars, while diplomats argued somewhere above my head about treaties I would never read. I was not important. I was not supposed to be noticed. That was the whole point of my life since the war ended. Stay quiet. Stay small. Stay alive. Princess Vera Silosin noticed me anyway. She was the heir to the Kelvashi Dominion, a species built like tall silver reeds with eyes the color of deep water, and she had grown bored of watching her court bow to her every word. When she toured our platform as part of the new alliance talks, she stopped in front of me while I was elbow-deep in a wiring panel, grease on my hands, and asked the guard beside her what I was. "A technician, Your Highness," the guard said. "Human, low rank." She tilted her head the way a bird does when it spots something small moving in the grass. "I have never tested a human," she said, as if I were a curiosity behind glass rather than a person standing 3 feet away from her. "Bring him to the arena hall tonight. I want to see what they are made of." I did not have a choice. Nobody on that platform had the rank to refuse a Kelvashi princess anything, especially not a nobody like me. So that evening, dressed in a borrowed uniform that did not fit right across the shoulders, I walked into the throne room with my heart doing something strange and steady, a rhythm I had not felt in 5 years. Calm, too calm. The arena hall was not what I expected. No blades, no obvious danger. Just a wide circular floor made of some kind of dark crystal, ringed by tiers of Kelvashi nobles, who leaned forward in their seats, like they were about to watch a puppet show. Vera sat above them all on a raised platform, chin resting on one hand, already smiling like she knew how this would end. "This will be simple," she announced to the room, though her eyes stayed on me. "A trial of nerve. The floor beneath you carries a current. Painful, but never lethal. You will stand at the center while it rises in strength, and you will tell me when you wish to stop. Humans break quickly, so I am told. Let us see how quickly." Laughter rippled through the tiers. I heard someone whisper the word fragile. Another voice, softer, almost pitying, said this poor creature does not know what he agreed to. I walked to the center of the floor without a word. A technician in dark robes activated the current, and a low hum filled the chamber. At first it was nothing, just a tingling under my boots, easy to ignore. Vera watched my face closely, waiting for the flinch, the gasp, the plea to stop that she was certain would come within seconds. It did not come. I have stood in worse places than that arena floor. I have stood in the wreckage of a colony transport, with the hull venting atmosphere around me, and 3 minutes of air left in my suit. I have carried a friend across open ground, while weapons fire cracked past my head, close enough to feel the heat. I have waited, silent and still, in a flooded bunker for 11 hours, while enemy scanners swept the darkness above me, knowing that one sound, one breath too loud, would end everything. A current under my boots was not going to be the thing that broke me. The hum grew louder. The tingling became a bite, then a deep ache that climbed up through my legs. I kept my hands loose at my sides, and my breathing even, the way I had trained myself to do a long time ago, in a place far from this glittering hall. I did not look at the crowd. I looked at Vera. Her smile faltered, just slightly, the corner of her mouth losing its confidence. "Increase it," she said to the technician, her voice a touch sharper than before. The current rose again. Somewhere in the tiers, the laughter had stopped completely. I could feel sweat gathering at my temple, feel the strain building in my jaw, but none of it reached my face. None of it reached my voice, because I had not made a sound since I stepped onto that floor. A Kelvashi noble near the front leaned toward another and murmured something about how the human should have surrendered already, how something must be wrong with the calibration, how no soft species should be able to stand this long. Vera heard it too. I watched the realization creep across her face, slow and unwelcome, like cold water finding a crack in stone. "Why does he not speak?" she said, not really asking anyone. She stood from her seat, gripping the rail in front of her. "Increase it again." The technician hesitated. "Your Highness, this is already beyond the threshold we discussed for, do it." The pain sharpened into something that would have dropped most people to their knees. I felt my legs shake, felt my vision narrow at the edges, and for one heartbeat, I almost let it show. Then I thought of the bunker, the flooded dark, the 11 hours of silence that saved every life in that unit, including my own. I had survived worse, with less reason to hold still. I held still now. "Say something," Vera called down to me, and for the first time her voice had lost its playful edge entirely. It cracked, just slightly, with something that sounded almost like fear. "Tell me to stop. Tell me you have had enough." I lifted my eyes to hers and spoke for the first time since I entered the room. "I have stood through worse than this without asking anyone for mercy," I said. My voice came out steady, quiet, carrying easily through the silent hall. "You can lower the current whenever you like. I am not going to be the one who asks." The chamber went utterly still. Even the hum of the current seemed to fade into the background of that silence. Vera stared at me, her water-colored eyes wide, and I watched her search my face for the trick, the exaggeration, the performance she expected from a lesser species putting on a brave show. She found none of it. What she found instead was a man who simply was not afraid of her test, because he had already survived far worse tests that no one in that glittering room could imagine. "Turn it off," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. The hum died. The ache in my legs remained, but I did not sway, did not stumble, did not give the crowd the satisfaction of watching me recover in front of them. I simply stood, breathing evenly, waiting. Vera descended the steps from her platform slowly, the fabric of her robe whispering against the crystal floor, until she stood only a few feet from me. Up close, I could see her hands were not quite steady. "What are you?" she asked, and this time, there was no mockery in it at all, just a raw, honest question. I thought about how to answer that. I thought about the friends I had carried, and the ones I could not save, about the years spent rebuilding a life out of the pieces the war had left behind, about how ordinary I had believed myself to be, right up until the moment someone decided to test what was actually inside me. "I am a technician," I said. "Before that, I was a soldier. Before that, I was just a person trying to get through each day, same as anyone in this room. My people were tested by something far crueler than a current under our feet, Your Highness, and most of us are still here. That is what humans are made of, not fragile, just quiet about what we carry." She did not answer right away. She looked at the crowd around her, at the nobles who had come expecting to laugh, and instead sat frozen, unsure what they had just witnessed. Then she looked back at me, and something in her expression had changed completely, the amusement replaced by a wary, genuine respect. "I intended to make an example of you," she admitted quietly, so only I could hear. "Instead, you made one of me." "You do not owe me an apology," I told her, and I meant it. "You did not know. Most of your people do not know, because we do not go around announcing it. That is the point." She studied me a moment longer, then turned to address the hall, her voice steady again, but changed in tone, no longer playful or careless. "Let it be known," she said, "that this trial is finished, and that the human species will not be tested for the amusement of this court again. What I saw here tonight was not weakness pretending at strength. It was strength that never needed to raise its voice to prove itself." The nobles rose from their seats, murmuring, some bowing slightly in my direction, a gesture I understood was not given lightly among her people. Vera herself gave a small nod, before turning back toward her platform, though she paused once more to glance over her shoulder at me. "Daniel Ashworth," she said, testing the sound of my name. I will remember it. I walked out of that arena hall on legs that still ached, back straight, saying nothing more, because there was nothing left that needed to be said. I had not won by shouting, or by proving anything with force. I had won simply by refusing to break, by carrying the same quiet endurance that had gotten me through every dark hour before that night, and by letting a princess who thought she understood weakness finally understand what she had been looking at all along. Some tests are won with strength. The one that mattered most that night was won with silence, and with everything that silence had survived to earn.